Hello, welcome to another episode of This, That, the Other. Today I'm going to be discussing a drug chain that used to exist in the Washington, D.C. area, also in some other East Coast states, called People's Drug. And People's Drug existed all the way up until probably about 1993, I believe. Anyway, here's a toy truck, old people's truck, and here's a logo. What the logo looked like back then. Had that P with a mortar and pestle. People's Drug, the prescription stores, and also got a hold of some name tags, which I'm going to show you, that from the People's Drug days. I covered the person's name, but here's what the management name tags looked like back then. All the way from like merchandisers all the way to like store managers. They had these blue name tags made by a company that was bought out by People's Drug called Hillcrest. It used to be independent, and Hillcrest would come in and service certain departments in the store. And here's another one. It changed the crooked P later on. And here's another one for People's Drug right here. And also ran across a newsletter. I have this one as well from June 1990, called the People's Press, and there's one picture right here where it says George Bernard Burris dies at 84, who's former president of People's Drug, and a picture of him standing in front of an old People's Drug store, the old People's Drug sign. I remember the old neon signs that were red. And that's the newsletter, and the back part of it is that logo again. And a little history I was able to compile off the internet about People's Drug. It was based in Alexandria, Virginia, founded in 1905. It was purchased by Lane Drug in 1975, and then Amasco in 1984. That was a Canadian company, and then eventually absorbed by CVS in 1990, which continued to run under the People's name until 1994. Okay, that was the year that CVS, the name was changed to CVS. The company was founded by Malcolm Gibbs in 1905 at 824 7th Street Northwest. By 1930, it had 110 stores operating under People's Drugs, Days Drugs, and Shearer Drug names, and variations with People's Service Drug and Gibbs People's Drug being most common. 1970, the company had 252 stores operating in D.C., Maryland, Virginia, Pennsylvania, Ohio, West Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida. Didn't know Florida had them. New York and New Jersey. At that time, there were 5,500 employees with sales of $220 million and profits of $1.87 million. By 1975, it had grown to 500 stores. Later in that year, the chain was purchased by Lane Drug of Toledo, Ohio. The new company retained the People's name and included Lane Drug, Schumann Drug, and Dynamic Drug, Health Mart, Reed Drug, and Lee Drug. Lane president Sheldon Bud Fandle took over as president of the chain and went to work on improving merchandising and customer service at People's. In 1985, they launched the Bud's Deep Discount stores, were opened in the Toledo area, with others in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. The name Bud's was derived from the nickname of Sheldon Bud Fandle. January 1987, Mr. Fandle left People's and took control of troubled drug in Washington, D.C., renaming those stores Fandle. Yes, that was another drug chain that was a rival to People's Drug in the area. Back when I came here in 1976, you had three major drugs chains. You had Drug Fair, which was later acquired by Rite Aid. You had Dart Drug. Dart Drug was a big, when I came here in 1976, that thing was a big store. It was kind of like maybe a little bit of a condensed version of Walmart, but I mean, Dart Drug sold automotive stuff, sold home improvements stuff. I mean, it was a big store. Later on, they cut some of the size of the Dart Drugs and put Track Auto next to it, because that Track Auto was owned by the Half family, and later on, they were, I believe the Halfs got out of owning Dark Drug, and then they were employee owned for a while, and then Bud Fandle took over Dark Drug, and he changed the name of Dark to Fandles, and the company soon after folded. Peoples, when they were acquired by Amasco, that was 1985, Peoples took control of the Florida Drug Shoppers Mart locations. Peoples soon acquired Ray and Derrick in 1985, and Hog Drug. Amasco was a Canadian conglomerate, the Canadian arm of British American Tobacco and owner of Shoppers Drug Mart and Pharmaprix in Canada. People and its divisions had close to 800 stores and became one of the country's leading drug chains. Now this is where the interesting stuff comes together, where Masco sold Peoples to CVS. Over the years, the Hog Drugs was converted to Peoples, and Dynamic and Schumann were converted to Lane. A program was implemented to convert all stores to the Peoples Drug name. Many Lane and Ray and Derrick stores were converted. All stores began selling Peoples brand product and began using bags with the Peoples brand logo. Before long, Peoples decided to sell some of their stores and concentrate on the Mid-Atlantic stores. First to go were the Florida Shoppers Drug Mart stores, sold to Eckerd. Next were the Atlanta-based Reed Lee Drug to Big B Drugs. The 85 store division gave Big B their entrance into the Atlanta market, a goal they had been working on for years. The next sale was Lane Drug to Rite Aid, effective April 11, 1989. Last phase was the Indiana division of Peoples being sold to management, changing the former Peoples store to Reliable Drugs. Reliable survived only 2 to 3 years prior to being brought out by Rite Aid. So a lot of various drug chains that were around were either absorbed by CVS or Rite Aid. Sale to CVS. After the dust settled from the sales, Amasco just decided to unload the Peoples drug chain, as Peoples was not performing at the level Amasco had hoped. In late 1990, CVS Corporation purchased Peoples. CVS kept the Peoples drug name in place, remodeled most of the stores to CVS format, and improved the store's sales. I remember Peoples Drug. Some of the stores looked really nice, were remodeled. Some of them were not, and hadn't been remodeled in years, and looked terrible. When CVS took over, they gave every one of the stores a uniform look. They brought in carpeting, which Peoples Drug did not have. They had the linoleum floors, and it made a difference. It gave all the stores a uniform look. The Peoples name was considered to be too strong a name change to CVS Pharmacy immediately. The name did ultimately change in May of 1994, just a few months before the Peoples Drug name would have celebrated its 90th anniversary. I want to understand, I believe there was like a, I don't know, some kind of survey was sent out to people about how they would have felt about the name changing from Peoples to CVS, and most people really didn't care, so they eventually did change it to the CVS. And I found a picture here of an old Peoples Drug Store back in about 1920, and that's basically what I have of history on Peoples Drug Store, and remember the chain well. And as always, thanks for watching.